Network Dojo.
Well, welcome to the first video in what is going to be a series of videos here talking about passing the CCIE Enterprise Wireless Lab using Network Dojo. So hi, I'm Jeff Rensink. I am the owner of Network Dojo. I also do all the training for the wireless side of Network Dojo here. And again, this is going to be the first of what's going to be 4 different videos talking about really what makes Network Dojo training system so great and why you'd want to use it for your CCIE Enterprise wireless training needs. So just a real quick background on me. I've been training wireless CCIEs for over 6.5 years now. I am a wireless CCIE. I'm also a route switch CCIE for 10 years now. I've been a CCIE, first route switch, then wireless about 4 years after I got my route switch CCIE. I've trained more CCIEs, wireless CCIEs than I believe any other instructor ever. So I've got a long track record and a proven track record of success, more than you'll find really anywhere else in the marketplace today. And with Network Dojo, I've been with Network Dojo for about 3.5 years of my overall 6.5 years of training. And really over this time, I've created and kind of honed a training system that I believe is really the most complete training system that you'll find for any CCIE out there, not just wireless, but really any CCIE. When I look at what's available out there, there's a lot of good stuff, but I don't see the same type of a system that we have to offer here. So we're going to talk a little bit high level, and then we'll start getting into some individual topics here. But really, when we talk about training, what is the goal of CCIE training? You might think it's, well, duh, to pass the CCIE lab, right? Well, that's more of a side effect of the training. Really, the goal of the training part of it is to increase your skills and proficiencies to a level where you can pass the CCIE lab. That's what we're trying to do with training. We're trying to get you to the point where you can pass it, and then passing is really a side effect of the training process there. And so when we think about passing the lab is definitely valuable. I mean, just having a CCIE is a great, arrow in your quiver, something to put on your resume. It opens doors, right? But if that's all you ever had was just a title, but you didn't have the skills to back it up, that's really not the most important thing, right? The most important thing is the abilities, the skills, the proficiencies that you get on your way to being ready to pass that CCIE lab. And that's what's going to stay with you, hopefully, through the course of your career. So that's where you're going to get the biggest rewards, is the skills. And so when we think about training, what's going to differentiate the different training options and programs that you might be evaluating? So what makes a good training system? It's worthwhile to cover this. So there's a number of things really that go into building and having a great training system. And so it, first off, covers all or at least most of the needed skills for lab success. It's hard to cover every last possible little minute skill that you could throw into the process of being successful at the lab, but you definitely want to hit the majors, right? And even the minors inside of there. So the most important things, as well as maybe the things that people don't always realize are skills that help you out with passing the lab, we want to cover as many of those as we can. Definitely the most important ones for sure. You want to make sure that the training program has information that's easy to absorb. If you're watching videos and you're having to replay the same video over and over and over again and you're still not quite getting the information, that's not quite so helpful, right? So you want to be able to have an instructor that can relay the information in a way that you tend to be able to digest easily enough. And same thing with the written materials, whether it's workbooks or whatever it's going to be, that you can work through it in a logical way and understand what it is that they're presenting to you. You want a study plan that follows a logical order. There's a lot of information to go through and a lot of levels of skills that you need to learn. And so, presenting the materials in a way that's going to make sense start to finish. You introduce things here that are required for knowledge and skills that you have later on in the process. Is important, as well as having a smooth progression. Not being thrown in the deep end from day one is discouraging, and it makes things harder to learn. But if you can sort of learn it in bite-sized chunks, start at that foundational level and then build up upon it, it's going to be a lot easier to absorb the information. It's going to be a lot less frustrating too as you're learning things. Having flexible learning options, having more than one way to learn things. Videos are great. Hands-on practice is great. Live instruction is great. There's lots of different ways to learn, and so having more options is always nice. Just gives us more possibilities, because some of us learn better in one way versus another way. Having more options is always a nice thing. Having a good instructor and community support. Honestly, the instructor is critical when it comes to the training materials, and so having usually a good instructor, one good instructor that's sort of at the helm for everything is ideal. It's not to say that multiple instructor programs can't work. It's just you want all those instructors to be solid instructors, because you have weak links. That's going to be a problem in your training progression. And then that community support. Again, it's great having an instructor that's going to support the program for you, but having other people that are walking alongside you on the journey is also very helpful as well. And then a program that can react to changes in the CCIE program. So a training program that can react to the changes in the CCIE program. Things do shift over time. New exams come out. All of a sudden they start testing things that maybe they've never tested before. Maybe they didn't really call those things out in the blueprint, and so it sort of blindsides us all, which, who can see that type of a thing coming, right? Well, if the program can react to those types of changes in the exam, and even, full updates to the exam, being able to move you from one version of the exam to the other without having to start all the way over from scratch, that's the sign of a good training program. So as we kind of talk about the training materials, as well as the process for getting your CCIE, it really is a journey. It is a long process. For most people, it takes more than a year to get their CCIE. I mean, absolutely, you can get it done in less than a year. It doesn't have to take a year. It's just that seems to be pretty normal for most people, that it takes like about a year, sometimes more, to pass. Sometimes it's even longer than that, unfortunately, but that's life. Sometimes things pop up and there's nothing you can do about it. Life happens and you got to put things on pause, and you got to come back to it. But it's a long process. And the thing is, there's more than one way to get to the end, right? It's not like I'm the only way that you could ever get your CCIE wireless, because other people get their CCIE wireless without me too, just like every other certification out there. But there's definitely ways that are better, easier than some other ways. And so think of it like taking a long cross-country trip, or for people who live in smaller countries, maybe a cross-continent trip for you. It's a long journey. You gotta put in a lot of miles over a lot of number of days to get from starting point to your ending point. And so there's going to be multiple factors going to determine, number one, if you even get to your destination. Will you ever even get your CCIE? Because the sad fact is, a lot of people who start working towards their CCIE never even get it. And then if you get it, how long is it going to take? How much work is it going to take? How frustrating is it going to be? Or how smooth of a process is that going to be? Your training system makes a big difference in that overall experience there. And so the better your training system is, the easier your journey is going to be, the more likely you'll be to actually complete that journey. All right, so let's kind of focus in on one aspect of the training program now, and in subsequent videos we'll kind of focus on different aspects of the training program. Now we've kind of gotten the high-level information out of the way. So what's kind of the most fundamental part of any training system really is going to be the raw materials that you use to learn the information covered in the lab. What does the blueprint need you to know? Okay, the raw materials needed so that you can learn about the different technologies included in the lab. And so that's usually things like workbooks. It can be written materials. It can be videos, learning that fundamental information inside there. You got to learn about all those different technologies, right? And so you could try to assemble your own free materials, or maybe some cheap materials like books. There's lots of Cisco.com documents out there. There's blog posts, YouTube videos. Sure, there is information out there, but it's not a part of a training system. A lot of those materials, especially like Cisco.com materials, they weren't made to help you learn the CCIE. They were just made to help people configure their devices or understand different topics. And so some of them do a better job at teaching than others. But honestly, this is bringing you back to the Oregon Trail days, where you're really forging your own path. You're assembling what you can based off of what's available. Again, it's not part of a system. Some of it will be decent, some of it will maybe not be that helpful to you, and you won't know this as you invest your time into going through those materials there. So you're going back to the Oregon Trail days. the horse and buggy days, you don't have a good map, and so the only map you really have is the blueprint that they give you, which is very generic. So it's very little information to get you from start to finish there. Progress is going to be slow. The roads are going to be rough, trails are bumpy, you got the river crossings, and you're horse and buggying it the whole way. And again, odds are that you're probably going to die of dysentery before you get to the end. Whereas when you use our workbooks and videos as your raw materials, you're going to be taught about all the blueprint topics, and you'll have guided practice for them. So all the videos are going to cover all the different topics, and not only the blueprint topics, but also the non-blueprint topics, those soft skills. You're going to learn about those, because if you don't know about them, you're not going to practice them, and that's going to be a hindrance for passing the lab. And then you have guided practice for all of them. That's what the workbooks are for. Let's lead you through how to practice them. Let's make sure that you are practicing all the different aspects of the technologies, and you're not skipping some. We're exposing you to all the different configurations and verifications, troubleshootings that you might need to know. You're going to have a smooth progression. So we're going to start in the fundamental world, just introducing the technologies, telling you what they are, how they work, showing you how to configure them, showing you how to verify them, and then allowing you to practice those. And then we build on top of that with troubleshooting, lab skills, full mock labs, all that type of stuff as we ramp up to being lab ready. We're also going to have written videos inside of those. So that unlocks the ability to even take the lab. In this version of the CCIE world, we don't have CCIE written exams anymore. Instead, there is a CCNP core exam that unlocks the lab exam. We'll get you through that as well, but when we get to the lab specific practice, we have 2 specific video series for the labs inside of there. And then we have 3 different workbooks to help you with the lab practice as well. And these were all created to work together as part of an overall system. They're not independent little parts that were just sort of created in isolation. They all work together. So what's the result? Well, you're going to learn faster than going on your own. You're going to have fewer gaps in your skill set than if you're going on your own, because again, you don't know what you don't know until someone tells you or you experience it. And it's a lot better to be told ahead of time so that you can practice those skills than to learn in the lab, oh gosh, that's I didn't realize I needed to know this or that or pay attention to these different things here. Your odds of finishing the journey greatly improved, and the journey itself just becomes easier. You're moving more into the modern age. We're getting rid of that Oregon Trail world. Your map is getting better. So it's going to be an easier journey and hopefully a smoother journey. So really the question on your journey then becomes, what will your vehicle be? And that's the little tag that will move us into our next video.